Oh, it's so great to see you two. My name is Ty Godwin, and I've got Nikki Godwin, my co-host of the Butterfly Pavilion. And it was a real easy decision to say who will be our first guest on the Butterfly Pavilion podcast, as you had me as a guest on your show. So we've got Christine Cooper and MJ, as her good friends call her, from the ReSisters. We could spend, and thank you for the bios. I've got to know you, and your examples of friends you met online, but has transcended to almost real friendships is what I consider it. And as I migrated from that brutal long COVID journey to cancer, you both have just been so thoughtful. I've received gifts from Toronto, Canada. Cookies, biscuits my dog ate. Gifts.
Don't tell me that.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I got to eat most of them, but Christine Cooper's got a background, and they're both from the ReSisters Twitter Spaces, and they're going to talk about some exciting news later here coming up. But Christine Cooper's got a background in public health and education and advocacy. MJ has got a long background. She's an athlete. She is a small business owner. She's a voice actor. She actually helped me do some voiceover work for one of my long COVID advocacy videos. I want you to say a quick hello. We're going to give you plenty of time to talk, but can you just say quick hello, Christine and MJ?
I'm so happy to be back here with my favorite Ginge. Let's be honest now. I've crushed on you for so long.
And
Twitter days, right? So I'm happy to be back to see you.
Wonderful.
And hello, everybody. And thanks so much for having us. We're super honored. When you reached out, we were like, yes.
Stoked. Well, we're equally stoked.
Because we want to talk with you so much, right? And we don't see you other than the odd message we do. So it's nice that this time has been
right. Well, and
so awesome.
You know, we'll get into it. I've dipped in and out of Twitter. Christine is true to her rebellion in that she has left Twitter sphere in rebellion to Felon or Felon or fucking Elon, all the above,
Swear jar.
and is over on Blue Sky. But we're delighted to have you.
Thank you.
I did mention we are using StreamYard, so this is something new. So the look and feel may look different. You know, we're pretty excited about using that. But Nikki, I'm going to hand over to Nikki because I'm doing all the talking as usual, and she's going to talk a little bit of the intro and high level what we're going to chat about today.
Yeah, thanks, Dad. Well, echoing Dad's sentiments, Christine and MJ, we're so excited to have you on. So thank you so much. But as we kind of get into the meat and potatoes of the episode today, we did want to acknowledge that September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And we would be remiss not to acknowledge the way that mental health threads through cancer, long COVID, caregiving, and advocacy. And these are, not separate struggles, and they really do overlap in similar ways. We do know that living with illness or caring for someone you love can bring isolation, anxiety, and even despair. And so one of the goals of this month, and also beyond the month of September, is to break stigma by naming these struggles out loud, because talking about them can be truly life-saving. And here at the Butterfly Pavilion podcast, our mission is about finding light in darkness. That means holding
Nikki, what is it in the sorority? The snaps?
You can snaps, Dad. Come on. Yes. We've already covered that. You've asked that before. But our mission. Well,
Christine and MJ are new to the Butterfly Pavilion.
And we wanted to snap, Nikki.
True. Yeah,
I love a good snap. Yeah.
That was an awkward. That was an awkward. We can snap to things we all love and agree to.
Okay, love it. We'll bring that into fruition. But our mission for our podcast is to find light in darkness. And so that means holding space for the hard truths, but also lifting up the hope, humor, and connection that keep people going. We are not clinicians, but we do believe in the power of conversation. And sometimes just hearing your own struggles reflected in someone else's story can really make a difference. And I think we can all agree on that. And we have seen that come to life here through our listeners and feedback. So I'm actually going to pass it back to my dad to give a quick fan mail update.
Yeah, and we won't spend a lot of time on this. We did cover fan mail in the last episode. It's odd and funny to have fan mail because we started this podcast really as conversations. The elephant in the room is I've got stage 4 cancer, and Nikki wanted to record conversations with her dad, and she's learning stories about her dad, some of which she didn't want to hear me talk about.
I heard that one.
Yes.
The strippers.
Yeah. No daughter.
I could just
no daughter.
feel Nikki going, oh.
Yes. No daughter wants to hear her dad's lap dance story. But on my Twitter, and it is confusing because I still, tweet as Seeking Boston Marathon, but I listened to Monica Lewinsky's podcast, and she had Olivia Munn on, and it really reached my wife, really reached me. So I tweeted to her, and I tried to print this off this morning, but you can kind of see she responded and said, hope things begin to improve for you, and gave me I'm not sure is the emoji it's a prayer symbol, but I think it's actually a high five.
I think it means thank you.
Like thank you, or
thanks, like sort of with honor. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I use it in that way, but it could be a high five.
That word.
In my fantasy world, it was Monica Lewinsky responding to me. We all know it was an intern, but thank you to her. Nikki had some great feedback on the tree hugger episode, where she talked about her emotions as a daughter of someone going through stage 4 cancer. And it was actually her therapist that responded and had a really heartfelt message. We won't use her name, but she said some very kind things. So it's great to get feedback. And as I've mentioned in the last couple of episodes, we are reaching people with cancer, and just had some feedback we just didn't expect. So we're definitely excited about that. But before I hand it back over to Nikki, and we are going to give you a chance to talk, I had to re-listen to the YouTube interview you did with me, and so did I. Yes, so much has changed in 2 years, including the cancer thing. But I thought I had covered, why I had, part of the affinity to the ReSisters is just not that you're just great people, and I can share your, kind of advocacy.
And sorry, they said warped sense of humor. I thought that's where you were going.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But also I've got a lot of you are Canadian, and I've got a lot of connections to Canada. But I've got a lot of family in Canada. My grandma went to the Winnipeg nursing school. She played hockey in Canada, which she's kind of like Rose from Titanic at the end of the movie.
Awesome.
All these amazing things she did. But the most obscure Canadian story I've got is when I was a kid, I went to Regina, and they had some kind of carnival or county fair, and they had a wrestling tournament going on, and Andre the Giant was there. And I met Andre the Giant. His fingers were as big as beer cans. Nikki, if you don't know who Andre the Giant is, he was also in Princess Bride.
No more rhymes, and I mean it. Anybody want a peanut?
Yes.
I know who he is, everyone. But thank you for just checking in on me.
Checking in.
Yes.
On the youth.
So I've got a lot of love and affinity in my career. I covered Canada several times over, calling on Bell Canada, London Drug, and Alberta Stock Exchange. And so I've got a great affinity to Canada. But Nikki's now got some questions for you.
Thanks, Dad.
You didn't think that Andre the Giant was going to show up in this?
No, I didn't. Didn't see that coming. I got to say, but I'm jealous about it.
Wasn't on your bingo card.
Every episode, I learn something new about my dad, which has been just such a wonderful part of this project and podcast. So thanks, Dad. Well, Christine and MJ, I'm so curious. I want to understand and hear more about how the both of you met each other. I heard it was rumored to kind of look like a drug deal in the driveway back in COVID, but
Little
that's
covert,
hearsay.
covert meeting in the
Black ops,
darkness.
rat tests. It was biomedical movements of things, right?
Yeah.
It was, it's true. We met on December 23rd at about 8:00 at night in the pitch black.
Must have been 2020
2021.
Yeah,
Was it 2020?
Was it
or 2021.
Well, no, it may have been 20.
Early COVID. Let's just say early COVID.
It was the first COVID Christmas. Remember the first
then
COVID Christmas?
Yeah,
it was
When
20.
they were like, don't visit, like do the testing and all
Right,
that
right.
kind of
Yes.
stuff.
Yes,
And
yes.
I had
that was
followed MJ on Twitter, and all of a sudden I saw this tweet from her saying, does anybody, in the area have any rats that they could share? And so I DM'd her and said, how many do you need? And she said, I'll just take, if you only have one, I'll take one. And I said, how many do you need? And she said 5. And I said, done. And I was doing a Christmas loop, dropping off all sorts of Christmas baked goods because I'm that person. And that's what I did. I stopped in Aurora on the way home.
Over an hour, about an hour and 15 minutes away from me. So it wasn't like it was a normal drop off. And we knew each other online because you were on Twitter very early, Christine. I wasn't on it until the pandemic kind of started. And then I was just on there trying to find information and eventually connecting with a lot of other parents and families wondering what the heck was going to happen with schools and kids and finding it harder to get information, blah, blah, blah. But in those first few months of the pandemic, I saw a post from an organization here. It's a nonprofit, Ontario Health Coalition, and they, do all sorts of things to help protect our public healthcare system. And they have for about 30, 40 years. And they were looking for people to join, volunteers to join, and to really help try to do things to help protect our long-term care homes and the residents there, because sadly we had in Ontario the worst record of death and neglect during the first year of the pandemic than any other country on the planet. Wow. It was abhorrent. And Christine you must have also already been involved with them or something. So we would see each other's posts and we started, amplifying them. I think we could tell that we were sort of like in line thinking.
Remember the nursing homes were just a hotbed of COVID.
Oh, totally. They brought the military in to clean them up. It was so bad.
Parents were in a retirement home at the time and they operated the same way. And it was awful. It was just awful. And so anyway, so we just sort of started to know each other online. And then that Christmas was the first time that we met in person. And then it wasn't long after that where you messaged me, Christine, said, hey, can I have your phone number? I'd love to chat with you about something. And so we talked for a little while, got to know each other, a bit about each other. And I guess you had seen me maybe on another podcast. It was about long-term care stuff. And you just said, I just wondered, like, I've always wanted to do this thing, maybe have like Twitter Spaces is this new thing. And I think it's the place to be. And I would love to, just wondering if you'd want to do some sort of like a podcasty kind of thing with me. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I thought, okay, I'll think about that. And I'd been interested in that kind of stuff in the past. So it wasn't like a big reach for me to want to agree. Plus she seemed pretty awesome. And you
both are so shy and need to really work on coming out of your shell.
Yeah.
I think also, though, it's true that in extroverts, but I think I also was now that much further along in my need to speak up because we were being stifled in so many ways. One, just from not being able to meet in person, and we were still adjusting to how to communicate with others. Two, just getting information from our governments and public health. I know here it was a bit harder and other places as well, whatever. So it didn't take me long to say yes. And then she said, oh, would you like to do one tonight? And I was like, what the heck?
It's International Women's Day.
It happened to be International Women's Day.
Just jump in the water.
I know. And so she just said, look, why don't we just reach out to some of our long-term advocate friends and just see if they'll listen in and they can tell us if there's any vibe at all between us. If it sounds awful or whatever, we'll just nix it. But if it looks like whatever. And then we got great feedback, luckily. And we were doing one every week from that point forward. And we've now done over 100 episodes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Exploded, and
I
I saw where you would have up to 3,600 listeners in a space, which is just crazy.
You know what was crazy, Ty? That would be at that moment, and we finish at night, and we would go to bed, and we would get up the next morning, and the numbers of listens would jump like 15, 20,000, and we're like, what the fuck? Like,
that's crazy.
Who is this? And all of a sudden we realized it was the Europeans.
Yeah.
It was the Spanish and the Italians and the Australians and the Brits. And we had people all over the world were messaging us, right?
Yeah.
It was crazy. But obviously, you know, we hit a nerve with some people. And originally this started out with a focus on women. Like we wanted to talk to women about things that were going on in their lives, everything from intimate partner violence to, you know, health rights, access to healthcare. There were so many things we wanted to talk about.
And it wasn't even about COVID or the pandemic.
It wasn't even about COVID
just
originally.
Interesting people with cool stories, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then it just morphed into, let's talk about this. So, and that's that.
And then we haven't stopped. Oh my God. Could the world please fix this so we could talk about something else?
Although I would say that with what we're going to do next, there'll be an opportunity for us to step outside a little bit away from some of that discussion into some other things.
Yeah.
So, you know what, Ty, I wanted to say to you when we were talking about you know, what attracts us to people. I think one of the things that endeared you the most to me was we have this mutual love of music, right? Like how many times did we get there? We had so many comments back and forth about MJ. I think you were in one and we were talking about, oh, I would be the girl in the t-shirt at the concert or whatever. It just, I don't know. You just felt like an old friend to me.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that. Like, it just,
Likewise.
Twitter, I don't even know why you're still in that cesspool because it's such a poison pit, right?
Well, I'm going to get to that. But that's a good segue because I think Nikki wanted to ask, you know, that very question.
Yes,
how we met.
I did. Well, and of course, you know, I've done my research. I've watched some of your old interviews, and it's been great to hear this story that I didn't actually know about this relationship up until recently. And also thank you for sharing the story about how the both of you met. You know, COVID has been, you know, a very negative situation and has had a very large impact on a lot of people. And it's great to see something so beautiful come out of something so negative. So thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I'm curious. So I know we're not on Twitter right now, but it sounds like you met my dad on Twitter. So like, tell me a little bit more about how that came to be and how your relationship evolved.
Well, I don't know what your memories of it are, Christine, but I believe we met just somehow, you know, when you were linked to someone who also followed some or whatever, you'd see their post. And I don't remember the exact moment I saw your first post or anything, but I remember your handle. And I remember being so amazed that you were a marathoner in the first place and that you were a marathoner who pushed, you know, a good friend of yours, a disabled man in a chair while you were doing these marathons. I thought that was spectacular, beautiful, and that you had long COVID. And at that time, you know, we were all hearing, well, it's just the vulnerable, you know, the older people that were, you know, at risk for this kind of thing.
Right.
And then, you know, we started, you know, after, you know, still following you, we started to hear about some more athletes suffering long COVID. And, you know, as an athlete, and I'm no marathoner, but a lifetime of just loving and playing sport. I mean, I know athletes are some of the worst people to rest when they're mildly injured, mildly sick. You know, I hate the word mild, but you know what I'm saying? When you just feel like you're not quite right, or you've been sick long enough. Now I think I just need to sweat it out. I just need to push through. And it's quite a heroic thing in sport to see people finish a race with one leg hanging off. And, you know, like I think there's a whole thing around that. I think high performance athletes even prior to the pandemic were prone to things like sudden heart attacks and stuff, even more than I think people realized. But as far as, the long COVID piece, I think that made me go, you know what? I don't think the world gets it. I don't think the world gets it. It's just grandma or just, whatever, who's at real risk for this, right? We just have a warped view of what healthy means or what a virus means, whether you're super fit or not. And anyway, so when we early on in our COVID conversations, prior to our actual COVID conversations, we had spoken to doctors we found interesting who also talked about long COVID quite early. And we had this intention for so long of doing a number of long COVID interviews with people because we thought we need to get that out. Now, as you know, doing these kinds of things, you have life, and we just couldn't keep it all up and do the weekly things. Anyway, we always wished we had done some more. But we did get to speak to a few people, and you were our first one who we spoke to about it. And we're so grateful for the time you took to share that story. Like what you're doing with your podcast is sharing your story. And when you share stories, that is one of the most impactful way, I think, to inform people about what's around them. And so that's what I remember sort of gravitating towards you about that topic and thinking, I want to hear from him because I could tell you were open to sharing that.
And he made the best vignettes.
Oh my God, those things are hysterically.
Oh my God, that was one of the. I was like, what the fuck? Who is this guy?
Yeah. That's right.
Then I go, oh wait, he's a ginge. Check the box on that one. Okay. And then Seeking Boston Marathon, and then he would refer to your mom as Mrs. SBM, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, he's got a sense of humor. And of course, that just pulled me to him.
Did you sorry, Christy, really quickly. Ty, did you just play something?
Our final contestant, Ty from Seeking Boston Marathon, and what in the name of Sam Hill are you wearing?
So that was, I don't know why it's so
that's the one of them. Sorry,
it's so low, but I
knew I heard something.
One of my favorite one. Thank you. One of my favorites was, well, first off, I made these long advocacy videos, and as I talked about in our interview 2 years ago, I use humor as a defense mechanism, and I think we do that. We carry that forward here in the Butterfly Pavilion podcast. Even though we're talking about cancer, you're still living, and I'm not dead yet, and I still use humor. But yeah, I made all these advocacy videos, and I had a lot of fun with it. I did long COVID mean tweets, and
those were good.
The soundbite I played was from Long COVID Jeopardy, and
that
so
was warped. It's awesome.
Oh my God, it was a lot of fun because I used Photoshop because I had to create green screen and layers and put me on the set of. I went with the legacy Alex Trebek Jeopardy, just because I channeled not Alex Trebek's voice, but Will Ferrell's version of Alex Trebek. What the name of Sam Hill are you wearing? That was not my best, but no, those were a lot of fun, and I grew an audience that because people were in pain and they were struggling and had very few laughs, and so it became this kind of combination advocacy, but also we need to laugh along the way.
So what is it? A little bit of a release sort of thing?
It was. And I also said it was part therapy, because I'm venting, and I also lashed out at people like Vinay Prasad. It's funny. I did these series of long COVID heroes and long COVID villains where I stole comic book art and made these superheroes and villains. And ironically, in the US, they used it as a hiring shortlist for Health and Human Services because you have RFK Jr., you have Vinay Prasad, you have Marty Makari.
So they were drawn to the villain character.
They were all villains because they were all pseudoscience and gaslighters of long COVID, and that's what we have in our Health and Human Services here in the U.S. But thank you for those kind comments. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, it was part therapy, and it was an outlet for me.
Yeah.
I did my best to amplify and echo those vignettes because I thought they were so good, right? So I would be sort of like, if you're not following this dude, you better get with the program, okay?
Yeah.
Like his message is really good. Pay attention, people. And I also want you to know that I actually picked up my telephone and I called that health and wellness bitch who came after you online.
Oh, yes. I remember that.
I actually phoned her.
Yes, now I remember. So she kind of blame cancer on me, or I can't remember what it was, but she kind of went after me.
You'd put a food picture up.
Oh, yes. If you didn't eat that stuff, you wouldn't have cancer.
And she weighed in on this and then
release the hounds.
Release Christine.
You were really hurt.
Yeah.
I know you were really hurt by this, because we
so
had
wrong.
a bit of a back and forth.
Who says that?
And I did
Seriously.
I did that thing where I did the search on her name and everything, and I phoned her.
Oh my
And
God.
I had a few choice words for her.
We won't out her, but how did she respond to that? I've forgotten her. I forget
her name. She was pretty quiet, right?
Forget her name.
And I told her, I basically also told her that she was a keyboard coward.
Yeah.
Wow.
And go fuck yourself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go off, Christine.
Yeah.
I would have done the same thing.
I wasn't having it, because it was cruel.
It was cruel.
And because I knew you, I think for me, it kind of changed the game a little bit, right? And so I don't normally do that kind of thing, but I just wanted her to hear a human voice as opposed to a message on Twitter.
Right.
And to say, you hurt my friend. So
don't mess with the ReSisters.
No. Put that on
focus on you, yeah.
No, and we've talked about this on our podcast before, but social media can bring out such ugliness, and it's so much easier for someone to say something mean online, but then when you call them out on the phone, as an example, they're quiet. But on the flip side of that, social media can create that sense of community. And I know that Twitter at that time was that space for my dad, and he was able to connect with the both of you and share his story, but also advocacy surrounding long COVID. Because you're totally right. There were so many misconceptions about long COVID, and like, well, he used to be a marathon runner. How is he this sick? Or he doesn't look sick. And we've talked about, how the long COVID pain and my dad's pain is not always visible. So I'm just really thankful that he found the both of you, and y'all were able to connect during that time and also spread awareness surrounding long COVID. So that's great.
Well, those feelings are pretty mutual.
Yes, they're very mutual.
Yeah, they are very mutual. And MJ and I, and weirdly, I've never had COVID. And
is she frozen to you guys?
Oh, I think
my goodness.
so.
She just froze.
She froze.
I froze.
No.
Am I back?
Well, your video's not. Do you want? Oh, there you are.
Now you're back.
Yeah.
Welcome
You're back.
You were just saying you had not had COVID.
I've not had.
I thought she was pausing for emphasis.
Yeah, for dramatic effect.
Yeah.
Yes.
And scene.
Yes.
And so people are often really surprised that I'm such an advocate about that element of what's happened with SARS-CoV-2, because I don't think people really realize how many people are going to be impacted by it. And I don't think that will be fully realized for about another decade. And
And I would
I saw on somewhere online where they made comparisons to polio and I think it was HIV, and we're still 5 years into it. And if you look at polio and HIV, we hadn't really felt the full breadth of it 2 or 3 years in, or even 5 years in. So I agree. I think the long-term impacts, the studies just continue to roll out in terms of the multi-system damage COVID can do. and why it, Nikki's had COVID, but why does she not have long COVID and Dad does? I've got theories around that, and we won't do deep dive on long COVID today. I'll end with a teaser at the end of this episode, but they're talking about the impact of children, and it could be decades before we realize the impact it may have cognitively, because we talked about the cognitive changes it had with me, and what is it doing to, screw the old guy, what is it doing to children?
And that is one of the biggest concerns, is that, there's one thing when we have our first infection at 30, 40, whatever. But when you're a child and your first infection is at age 6 or 2, or as a newborn, or 8, and there's no mitigations going on most places to stop people continuing to get it. And we know it's, the thing is, long COVID is our big concern. That is to imagine the global population just continuing to become more and more chronically disabled is a really, quite frankly, horrifying concept. So it's great that we're seeing some of the changes that we're seeing. There's also, though, between the acute infection and the long COVID, you may not suffer long COVID, but we know the damage is going on in other ways. We know the increase of sudden heart attacks and strokes. We know early onset dementia, type 1 diabetes, cognitive impairment, even in short spurts, right? People are suffering with, hair loss and dental issues. It's such a stealthy virus. So there's the acute infection there, and all the things you need around that, understanding what antivirals you can get, the rest you need. If you have paid sick days and you can stay home enough days, or you can afford to stay home with your kids when they're sick enough times, there's all that in the acute stage. Then there's all the stuff that it's doing. Well, we even think we've healed fine from an acute infection. It's not clearing from systems. And then you get the people who, like you said, Ty, we're figuring out why are they more susceptible, or what happened in their acute infection that made it so that now they have what we at least deem to be long COVID, the thing that, where symptoms and stuff show up 3 months after you think you've healed, or something that has lasted just ongoing. And it's a really big thing, which can feel super heavy. But one of the things I know we try to do with ReSisters, and that we each do in our own worlds and in other organizations we're a part of, is just try to help the public understand that it doesn't actually have to be this way. We have tools to prevent it. They're pretty easy to get for the most part. And a lot of our leaders are implementing the things for where they work and spend their time. So it's, with good air ventilation and filtration and masking up when you're in healthcare settings, and, all the different things we've heard of for years now. There are ways to prevent it. And we just need to get people on board, seeing it's not a bizarre thing to expect or to want to do. And that's sort of why we love having these conversations, because I think the more we talk about these things, they just become normalized conversations. And it's not a fear thing, and it's not a conspiracy thing, it's just health.
Right. And I know you hate to talk about politics. You never talk about politics, but the politicization of COVID is something that I've done parody videos on for a long time. And how we got to a place where people think COVID is just a cold. And, I've got, relations of a family member that, is so far right that he thinks COVID is actually a hoax.
Oh.
So, and I'm like, do you not remember like the refrigerated morgues that we had to set up in New York City and around the world, because people were dying at such a rate that we couldn't accommodate all those people. And the around the world, hundreds of million people that are disabled. But we know who's a key culprit in that, and we won't go completely down that rat hole. But that's one of the things that just frustrates me, is that we downplayed COVID from a politics perspective. And it just baffles me. It baffles me. We don't think cancer is a hoax. We shouldn't think COVID or long COVID is a hoax.
Well, just one. Go ahead, Christine. No, it's okay. You go.
I was going to say, apparently, depends on what kind of breakfast you eat in your world, Ty. But what was I going to say? Sorry, go ahead, MJ. My brain is scrambled. I was
just going to say, in connection to that, like, we often have had over the years, like, people just go, why? Why is this the thing that's so hard for people to talk about, right? And yeah, and I think there were a lot of things that it was like the perfect storm, and this is just my personal opinion, but based on, things I've tried to read and keep up on. And it is, because it's ongoing, a global pandemic. There's a lot of trauma, particularly at the start, right? With so many immediate deaths. And like you said, all the, healthcare workers and what they dealt with, people's jobs, they've lost, businesses closed down, people who had to stay home because we were all asked to stay home. Sometimes home lives aren't the safest places to be, all the things and the unknown. And then when things are unknown, or when our public health and governments leave too many gaps in their public education, disinformation loves gaps. And that's where it goes. And then it goes into places and feeds out, and we know how fast it can get out. It's harder to pull it back. And it's addressing things that people are desperate to hear. Right? Like, so they'll take that, because a lot of the people we depended on previous to the pandemic for accurate information, some of them aren't giving accurate stuff anymore. And it's hard to say, well, I think they've gone down the rabbit hole. I know they were really great before, but, how do you convince someone of that without them thinking you've gone down the rabbit hole? It's this thing, right? And then it's just a general move across the planet away from democracies and, more to authoritarian and fascist sort of places where the health of the population isn't that important to them. In fact, it helps them when populations aren't healthy. It's, capitalism, you got to get them back to work. So they allowed that stuff to drive the decision-making rather than the science and what it made sense to do, get people back to work, people back shopping and traveling. And we live in a really connected world now. Like, humans probably weren't intended to go and sit with 60,000 other people in a stadium or travel at the rate we do and expect to not catch and share and do all the sicknesses that are around, right? So I think it's just this combination of trauma and all the political stuff and all the whatever human nature stuff, the, response to trauma, that just makes the C word unbearable for people to talk about. And I understand why. It's put us in a place where we're just like this, trying to catch up and do our best to fix some stuff.
Let's be honest. The watershed moment in my world was when I watched that news conference of the WHO.
The World Health
when they talked about it being airborne, and Buddy leaned in and whispered in his ear, and then they came back and said that it wasn't airborne, it was fomite.
In the militaries, not in the military sense or something. Yeah, Dr. Tedros. Yeah, we were like,
I just knew then we were fucked, because even I knew it was airborne, and I'm not even a sciencey thing. And that, speaking of science, I never thought in my lifetime I would see the death of the scientific community.
Oh, I thought you said that you'd be, talking about science as much as we do, because we're both like, how did we get here? I know. Why are we talking about it?
Well, Christine, you threw me off because you started talking about the WHO, and I'm like,
I know. No, he's like,
when Roger Daltrey leaned over and talked to Peter Townsend.
Wow,
and that's what I was thinking.
Townsend.
And people took it as gospel, of course.
And
I knew when she said it, I'm like, the World Health Organization.
Yes,
we got a rocker.
She laughed so hard her microphone froze again.
She froze.
It was the Pete Townsend windmill act.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and my favorite song is Baba O'Reilly, by the way.
Oh, mine too.
You cannot go wrong with that. Goodness. I talk about how my brain works in a tangential way. So we went from a very serious conversation about COVID to Baba O'Reilly and the WHO.
Yes.
But that's what we're all about. Here.
That's
as you would
how Dad's
naturally
brain
do.
That's probably why we like each other so much.
Hey, the thread of music
Absolutely.
You mentioned.
Yeah.
I did also thought you were speaking of the band. So
that is so
hilarious.
Funny.
I was like, who said that?
Before we move off COVID, it's it'll weave into the conversation because it still defines me, because I just because I have cancer doesn't mean I don't have long COVID. I have both. which presents its own challenges. But I do have an unpopular view in that I understand the world has moved on. I've got friends in the long COVID community that don't leave their house. And if they leave their house, they are masked 100% of the time, which I'm a horrible person. I don't mask 100% of the time, but I think things like clean air make sense. Masking healthcare workers make sense. If you are sick and you get on an airplane, wear a mask. Nikki goes to, is it EDM, Nikki? You young people.
Well, it's been a minute since
concert.
I've been to
it's cool.
concerts.
The genre of festivals that you go to.
Yes, but I mean, well,
no, but what is the genre? That is my question.
It's EDM. You got
EDM.
it.
Okay, I was correct. No, but when you come home, quite often, when you've been around 5,000 people, you know that, I spent the whole summer being sick.
Right.
And that's not cancer. That's not long COVID. My immune system was so jacked post chemo. I was sick the entire summer. So my daughter exercises. Hey, if I've been around 5,000 people, she'll take a test or she'll isolate. So I think there's common sense measures that you can make. And again, my opinion is it may not be popular among the hardcore long COVIDians, because I think you need to live too. You need to leave the house.
Yeah, it's funny because that's something that we've seen a lot of the last probably year and a half or more, is some of the typical like COVID advocates or people who are sick or whatever, kind of turning on each other in the moments when someone isn't following the mitigation.
It's got ugly.
It's been ugly.
It got really ugly.
And I look at, like, I have my opinions, as we all do, on what works. To me, like, I think that's smart. All the things you're doing are good. I mask more often than that because I just, each time I wish I didn't, because I hate wearing them. But I wear them to play my sports. I wear them to work out. I wear them, well, pretty much anywhere indoors. I share with people who I can't tell what the air situation is like, or if I know that they don't really pay much attention or whatever. But I just know, like, they say the statistic is anywhere between 40 and 60% of people show no symptoms. So we can say when you're sick, but we know you didn't. So that's all fine.
It is airborne.
What I say is, we've often heard the comment, don't let the, perfection be the enemy of good. Like, if everybody did everything, that would be like stellar. And we probably kicked this thing in the butt a long time ago. Okay. It's unrealistic. Right. We've moved on from that. State will probably not ever get that part back. Right. Trying to get everybody on board, like those first few months where everybody was a team, and, but people have their lives too. Like, Ty, I don't know what it's like to have cancer or long COVID or have them both. I don't know what that feels like in terms of what you see in the days and months and years coming. So I have no fucking right to tell you, I can't believe you're only masking then, or I can't believe you.
Right.
What the hell? Like, are you kidding? I have family members too have cancer. And I see, let's say, my one family member wearing a mask when she goes places, but she just wants to be with loved ones, and she doesn't want to have to tell them, can you please do this or can you do that, and have a big conversation, because with some people to be harder, and so everybody can do what they choose to do. Everybody can do what they can commit to, and then it all has to fit within your own risk tolerance, right? And if you're doing your best not to infect others, then I don't know what's wrong with that. Ideal to do everything great. It's just not realistic for everybody to do that. And so I don't like when I see the people coming down on people instead of just at least acknowledging all the good things that you're doing. And then if you feel it's someone that just doesn't know, then you can always say, hey, did you know that this could help too? Right. But if they know, then just let them be, I don't know. That's just my thought.
Hey, long COVID is, they had a New Mexico symposium. It was 3 days, so we could continue to talk, but I want to move on if we could, because there's social media. So you talked about your T spaces, and sorry to cut you off, MJ.
No, I'm good.
you talked about your T Spaces or Twitter Spaces, and I'll still call it Twitter, not X, and how wildly successful it was. Christina mentioned, true to her rebellion, she got off X and has remained off X, has moved over to Blue Sky. I've got both. What's next for you all? Because you have such a voice, and you hinted around kind of the evolution of the ReSisters. What can you talk to me about how that's evolved, and then what's next?
MJ, you want to take this?
Well, it's up to you. I was yabbering.
Well, one of you tweeted about it, so it's actually in the Twitter sphere.
Yeah, we have put it out in the Twitter sphere. We have decided that, like you guys, we needed to go and find our own platform and not depend on those social media platforms. And so it took us a little while to kind of get our land legs on that. And we went to a small branding boutique and said,
nice,
help us take the image of the ReSisters in our head and make it into something for us so that we could have some marketing material. Because we all know, like, you look at those postcards or place card holders for podcasts, and it's often the picture or whatever the way is what makes you click on it, right? So there was that element, but we really just, we just really wanted to talk to people again. Like, we missed it.
You're so good at it. You're so good at it.
Yeah.
And I kind of pushed ahead and reached out to this agency, and then said to MJ, I called this girl and blah, blah, blah. And take it away, MJ.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. And, the one thing that we loved about Twitter Spaces was the live element of it. Mm-hmm. Like, in the moment, you could see people like typing things in the chat or asking to speak or putting emojis, reactions to people. Or if we had a question, we go, hey, does anybody remember which study that was? Or does anybody know this actor? And they type it and we go, oh, thanks. That kind of, so I loved that. And I know, Christine, you liked it too. And so when we finally realized we're not going to continue on Twitter, we really didn't know kind of where to go. We were waiting for other ones to pop on. I know there was like YouTube Live and stuff, but for a few reasons, the other options didn't suit us. And then we said, maybe we just need to bite the bullet and do a podcast where at least even the recordings will be saved, hopefully sort of in perpetuity, but we have easy access to them because, you could easily lose your recording of a T Space, and we've lost even just the records of them that we have. Like, we've downloaded them, but they're a real pain to pull up again. So, all that, and plus not supporting, Musk as much as we had with being on so regularly. So so now we have a podcast that's coming out, and we haven't actually said the name of it yet. We can say it now if you want. It's going to be the ReSisters. It's going to be the ReSisters, and we're calling it No Ostriching Here. Because
we don't stick our head in the ground for anybody, right?
Yeah. And that's sort of what we found ourselves being, just people who are just willing to talk about most stuff and some of the hardest stuff, or at least to talk to others who know about the hardest stuff. But like you, try to have a little sense of humor with it, bring the light around to it, and usually, try to let people know what they can do, where they can learn more, or how they could meet this person, or see what they're interested in, or watch their movie, or read their study, or whatever, and what, call your politician, do all the things. So anyway, that's what we're doing. And we're really just, like you had figured out how to use StreamYard and stuff, we're just figuring out how to use the platform that we've picked, and then we'll do our first interview.
Well, and I know you've got busy lives, and Nikki, we're doing once a month, and with my health and with Nikki's busy life and day job, I can't see doing more than that.
I would love to.
Would love to, but it's also, we don't want to lose sight of our mission, and that was to record conversations that she can have, for a long time. But
that's awesome.
I am very excited to hear that you're blossoming into the podcast world, and because you are so good at it. And I'm not just saying that just to make you feel good, but it's a genuine, heartfelt, you're very good, and you're did so well in your Twitter spaces. I'm like, what? I because I've dipped in and out of Twitter a lot. I'm like, wait a minute. So Christine's no longer on Twitter. How are you doing T spaces now? And that was my epiphany of, they're not.
That's a bit of a challenge, I got to say.
Yes. And
yeah,
I can't go there. It's just not safe, particularly for women, right?
That as well.
Snaps to that. No.
Yeah.
I had been to be clear, I was a Twitter member when there was less than 1 million users. That's when I joined, like way back in the
2011 or something.
You're a pioneer and a rebel.
I was, and so we went there for like talk about wine and travel and food, and you could get instant news. And then I don't know what happened. I think it was at the pandemic when it just turned into this big giant cesspool of hate. And then of course when Jack sold it to Elon, I think knew that was the game changer right there. But I got lots of threats. I would get threats on a regular basis. I had a much larger account than MJ, right? And so it just became untenable for me, and I just didn't feel safe. I had people calling my house and things like that.
Oh, that's horrible.
They look up my business.
Gosh.
And then my phone number was on it, and they would phone my house and hang up. And this, it just was too much after a while. So I just thought I can't be there anymore.
I don't blame you.
That. Well, maybe to get that awful, dirty feeling off of us, we all feel like we need a shower after that. And that is I'm not trying to downplay the online notion, but we wanted to reintroduce a surprise and something fun at the end before we wrap, and that is movie quotes. I sprang some on Nikki, and this week we only have time for one, but I thought she was going to maybe get 1 out of 4, but she got
I got everyone.
You did well,
She got all of them. Of course,
I
used Napoleon's name in the Napoleon Dynamite quote,
yeah.
But so here it goes, and this is for the 3 of you.
Okay.
Shit.
All right, bring it on, ladies.
Okay, the pressure. Oh my God, you look like the 4th of July. Makes me want to have a hot dog real bad.
Legally Blonde.
Well, actually, it's Legally Blonde 2. And that was Jennifer Coolidge. Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde.
I love Legally Blonde movies.
Me too.
Well,
love them. My girls and I will watch.
What was that thing to do? Bend and snap.
Bend and snap.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
God. So I need to start picking tougher movie quotes like Dog Day Afternoon from the 70s.
You did a pretty good imitation of her, I have to say.
Well, we have been practicing over here at the Butterfly Pavilion podcast. Well, that was fun. Wrapping up, Nikki, you want to bring it home, and I can hang on for a few minutes. I know everybody's is busy, but I know Nikki needs to drop at the top of the hour. I knew we would run out of time because there's just so much to talk about with you two.
So much, but it has been such a wonderful hour of ginger power plus more.
Not quite an hour of ginger power, Nikki.
Yeah, not quite an hour of ginger power.
Dad, I was speaking to it. Stop interrupting me, Dad.
I love it.
But just want to say thank you both so much for your time. It's been so wonderful to have you on, and we're so excited to support you in your new podcast launch and endeavor. So excited to see that come to fruition and roll out.
Thank you very much. And I love what you guys are doing. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's so fun. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of families who go, oh my gosh, why wouldn't we do something like this? This is such a nice time to connect. And like you said, learn about each other in a different way. Right. And I think I tallied I didn't catch them all, but about 6 contributions to the swear jar. And I think the majority are from Christine.
Well,
I think Christine owns the majority of the money.
It's not a swear jar.
It's a cry jar. Oh, I forgot.
And
she was tallying.
We thought,
I think I said in my bio I was the silver fox, spicy tongued.
Yes, you are. You live true to your bio.
I am understanding that now.
Cry jar. That's good.
Well, it's funny because we thought how can you talk about cancer and, the elephant in the room is it's stage 4, not stage 1, and I will die from this. So we thought we'd be crying every week, but, we don't. I think we put an air of, I don't know, we go into work mode or whatever it is, and we set aside emotions. But, Nikki's talked about how she hangs up and that Sunday night she cries because she's like, we went through some really heavy stuff. You asked, or you mentioned, you don't know what long COVID and cancer is like, and it has layered on bone pain because it has spread to bone and in my pelvis and in my ribs. And last night I was in pain, and as I finally fell asleep, here's another tangent. I had a Lady Gaga dream. We were at a family party and we snuck off to do drugs. Yes. And
what?
Yeah, we snuck off to do drugs, and there was like this flirtatious sexual tone to this thing. And yes. and she was, she was
into it.
It wasn't just me. It wasn't just no. I need to finish this because I opened the Pandora's box. No, this is where it gets awkward with your daughter on a podcast. But then where the romance ended, she's like, "Will you sing to me?" I'm like, "Well, shit, I can't sing. I can't sing to Lady Gaga." But it went from me thinking about death and dying and the pain I had at 1 a.m. to a Lady Gaga dream.
Awesome.
God, we covered Lady Gaga and Andre the Giant in the same episode.
But I think that's a good wrap to finding light in darkness. And that is all what our podcast is all about. Just a few housekeeping wrap items. We did also want to let our listeners know, if you or someone you love is struggling, please know that you're not alone. In the US, you can dial 988 at any time to connect with the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. And for our listeners in Canada or abroad, we encourage you to look up local crisis lines because everyone deserves support. And again, you're not alone, your story matters, and your life matters. To also stay connected with the Butterfly Pavilion podcast, be sure to follow us on Instagram and YouTube at the Butterfly Pavilion Pod. And we also encourage listeners to email us with any questions or feedback at butterflypavilionpod@gmail.com. So thank you.
Isn't she amazing, lady?
She's so good.
And a ginger.
Wow.
And a ginger.
I wonder where that came from.
Yeah. Oh
Thank
goodness.
you so
Well,
much.
a joy to have you both.
Yes. Thank you
Wonderful
for
to
having
see
us so
you,
much.
Ty. Just wonderful to see you.
Yeah. Loved it.
My heart is full today.
Likewise.
Yay.
I can't do it because mine always looks like a police badge when I do the heart symbol.
Yeah, it's like
Not
you
a
don't have the
heart.
curve here or something.
Yeah,
I need to work on that.
We're gonna have to practice that, Dad.
I gotta practice
right?
that.
Practice it.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies, so much.
Thanks so much.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.